mind. One of the things, this is a real sort of record scratch tangent from everything we've been talking about, but it's something that, I thought was really kind of interesting and fun that I experimented with this week is those of you who are toying around with AI or integrating it into your workflow or, are looking into the ethics of it or, concerned about it politically or, are, engineers and data scientists in these spaces, this may or may not be interesting to you, this may or may not be new news to you, but essentially this week, Anthropic released on their consumer side some new powers to their Claude AI model for those people using the Mac OS. The desktop app, and what this is, it's kind of an expansion of some of the powers they've given it on the back end for developers called Model Context Protocol, which basically, without going into the weeds too much, is kind of a quasi-alternative to using API calls to make your AI have special powers not otherwise granted to it by default. It's basically calling tools to do things like, one of the obvious ones that's used by most of the models now is search online on the internet or something like that. But you can do all sorts of things with this. And so on the consumer side now, they have some of these triggers that are more available, which they've been pretty constrained about. One of the things that I toyed around with was spinning up a blog this week and, it's basically assigning it a domain and then linking this blog software to my Claude AI desktop. And from there, basically giving it carte blanche authority to run the website like, content master, web designer, marketing team. I gave it all the hats, right? And I said, this is the idea in general that I want. And this is essentially, in theory what I'd like you to do, but essentially, why don't you think this through and you come up with a better plan than it did. And then it began creating post and branding this bare bones skeleton of a content management system, of a blog website. And before you knew it, I had this very, very living, breathing, cutting edge, highly, I was just like very, very blown away by this thing. And, a lot of people talk about doing these things, but they think that there's this huge barrier to entry. But I want to tell you that there really isn't. This took not even a full part of the morning. This took more of like a coffee break plus breakfast, and I don't know, that's just, for me, it was a really, really fun experiment. I mean, I understand what this means on the flip side. What this means is that all the fears about certain types of jobs and whatever are kind of going to be automated away. I think there might be something to that. And I think the people that are, ringing the alarm bells are, they're onto something. At the same time, I think if there ever was a time for folks to stop, pause their lives, take a weekend to take a few online classes learning about how to use these things, I believe those of us who are at the threshold have the opportunity to at least retrain ourselves and figure out a way to evolve with kind of an unavoidable situation to bring.
60 seconds, Dr. Jim. 60 seconds.
Yeah, that's fine. I see we're on one stage. Freaks.
Ooh, John, can you hang on a second? I want to talk to you. Just have to wait your turn. Thank you, John. We will be with you shortly, Dr. Jim.
Okay, so what I wanted to say is I saw that Rick was raising his hand, Rick Sanchez, and I love having these kinds of conversations with Rick because he's really good at tempering my sort
Well,
of...
if he wants, he can engage with you when he gets his fresh find.
I was in the middle of a sentence.
I know you were.
And I am almost done. You said 60 seconds.
I know you are.
Timing, my friend. Timing. Come on,
Exactly.
Timing. So let me finish my thought, please.
Go.
Okay, so what you're doing is you're framing a control paradigm right? What you're
If
saying,
you
go
want
and
to
cut off my
discuss,
then I
if you
finish
want
my
to
thought.
discuss the show,
Then I
you
finish
are
my
more
thought. No, I don't. Can you just finish my thought? Please, just let me finish my thought.
pleased to.
Thank you. So, Rick Sanchez, if you want to come up, but I wanted to say, like, usually I very much appreciate your kind of tempering my AI optimism with a very healthy, skeptical kind of mindset, and that we've gotten to do some experiments together offline and look at these things. I would be really curious to hear your thoughts about this.
Thank you, Dr. James. Appreciate that. Next in the queue is Brian and John, and then, as mentioned, Rick. But for those of you that are here for the first time, this is how the show works. Everybody in the audience is encouraged to be bold, brave, courageous. Raise your hand, come on up, and talk about anything you want. We put a premium on the new speakers, and you can either go on a narrative, or you can engage with me or my mod squad. I have assembled the best mod squad in the history of Clubhouse. I'm very proud of who they are and what they do, and it's just evidence. The mod squad does not always agree with me on how I run the show, and of course they are free to have their fresh vibe to talk about it just like you guys are. And thank you very much. And with that, let's go to my show, Brian. Brian, good morning. Welcome to the show. You got a fresh vibe. Brian, if you're not available, we can come back to you, Brian.
I'm sorry that my
Brian, it's okay. You have a fresh vibe now, or we can come back to you.
no, I'm good. I just happened the button for the microphone was next to somebody's picture, and I hit the wrong thing. Hey, a couple of things. You know, I'm wondering at the top of the hour if you could find it, if you could play. We don't have something lined up already. Play the scene from Joe Dirt where he's at the fireworks stand. You remember that?
I've already had a request for the top of the hour,
okay.
but I see if I can look up a clip for Joe Dirt, but I can put Joe Dirt fire stand and try and find it for you. Maybe we can work that in before the end of the show.
That's cool. But a couple things, made me come up and want to get on the old soapbox. So, pardon me for just a second. I want to step up. You were talking about the Medicaid thing. Something that just infuriates me is the stereotype that Republicans use to beat up on people that are on Medicaid or receive food stamps. The lazy people that don't want to work, the mom that's got 5 kids and don't want to work and has kids just to receive food stamps. I mean, they promote that in order to, really in order just to be cruel and not provide those options to people. I mean, a lot of people, there could possibly be that type of person, but but it's a stereotype, and it's one that they just use all the time to just, to belittle people that need a handout or some help. And a lot of people, it's Medicaid and food stamps that keeps them off the street, because I believe that a lot of people have mental health issues that prevents them from being able to work. You might be physically able, but sometimes it's a mental issue. I mean, I'm sure there's like billions of reasons why someone would be down on their luck and need help, but it just drives me crazy, that stereotype that they want to always use of people, and they're so out of touch with your average person, because they're all, pretty much close to being millionaires, if not billionaires, and they don't, they may go home and get phone calls from constituents or whatever, but I really think that most congressmen are out of touch of the average man on the street. So that's my first soapbox issue, and then my second one that is just driving me crazy is the way that the Trump administration has turned their back on Ukraine, and basically Trump is a lapdog for Putin. I mean, Putin knows Trump's not going to do anything. He been threatening with those sanctions. I don't know how many times. They've never gone on. He admits the phone call that he just recently it's just ridiculous. You know, when Russia's over there bombing the hell out of Ukraine, they're getting. You know, I just saw a story earlier in the week that they're getting 30,000 new recruits from North Korea. You know, North Korea is basically helping Russia, and then here we are turning our back on Ukraine and not providing the aid that really was already earmarked to go to them. They're using excuses that's what's the word I'm looking for? They're using excuses that we're low on ammunition and stuff, which people that are in the know say that that's not true. And because some of the stuff was already approved to go over there, it's just that Hegseth and I don't know whose authority he's acting on, probably Trump's. You know, he's just not sending it to them. You know, the munitions that was already promised to them. But you know, for them to, I mean, Trump has to be in bed with Putin because he can't believe that once Putin gets Ukraine that he's going to stop there. And I've also seen some stories that says that, you know, that Russia might be going into Estonia. So I don't know. It's just a very frustrating situation to me that the way that the current administration is treating Ukraine. But that's my hot button issues this morning. Thanks.
Absolutely. Thank you. And now we go to John. John, is this your first time on the show? John? Hello, John? John going once. John going twice. Okay, we'll come back to John. Let's go to Rick. Rick, are you there?
I am here.
Hi, Rick. And by the way, if you didn't hear, Dr. James has rolled out the red carpet for you to either engage with him or talk about what he wants to talk about. Therefore, you get a fresh five starting now.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about AI, and
If you could go a tad louder or closer to your microphone, that'd be appreciated.
AI, I think, is a great tool. It could be a great tool. I think it's being rolled out way, way, way too fast to too many people without any training. And it does take training to be able to use it and get even minimally great stuff out of it. Now,
In that vein, I want to ask you a question, which is up to you if you want to address or not. When Dr. James had his fresh five, he said that he dove into his AI and basically, I'll paraphrase, gave it carte blanche. He gave it all the tools necessary and said, and this is Dr. James's words, do whatever you want to do. Did you want to comment on that as well?
well, yes. And it sounds very simple what he did. It's not that simple. If you have taken the time to learn what it is, because it sounds like what Dr. James is, and correct me if I'm wrong, is you created a bunch of AI experts in certain types